So this is our series on how to take control of your money in 2024. Probably many of you are looking at creating a budget either now or recently or in the near future. And I believe that one of the best ways of taking control of your finances is to have a budget. So this topic today talks about how to track your money, which is one of the most important parts of having a budget. In today's video, I will explain the 2 reasons why that's true. And we will also answer several questions like number 1, who needs to track their spending and who doesn't? Number 2, what are the biggest benefits of tracking your spending? And number 3, what are the simplest ways to track your spending? What are some free tools where you can do it with? And we're gonna take a look at a couple of those. So join me in this video as we talk about tracking our expenses. So why is tracking the most important part of budgeting? Well, it's different for different people. So let's just talk about several different groups of people. Number 1 is the group of people who are starting or restarting a budget. And tracking for these people, tracking for a few months or even 1 month will help you to know how much money realistically you should budget for each category. So if you've never had a budget before, you may think to yourself that you spend $500 on groceries, and after tracking your expenses for a month, you may find out that you are spending double that. And you would not know unless you tracked your expenses. So it helps you to figure out how to even create a budget. This actually, you can jumpstart this whole process, and I did a whole video on that, on the topic of using an annual budget tracker. And I give some tips in there for jumpstarting the process of figuring out how much money to allot for each of your budget categories. And I do highly recommend that you watch that video. Now, so that's the group of people who are just getting ready to start a budget. But what about people who are on a budget and they don't follow it? In other words, they overspend in a lot of their categories, or maybe they even underspend in categories. Maybe they even have categories that they're not spending in anymore, but it's still in their budget. They're just not keeping to their budget. For those people, tracking can help them to keep on track. And that's the whole idea of tracking, is that it helps you stay on track. And tracking your expenses helps you to see where and when you overspend. And it helps you to know when you need to adjust your budget amounts, because if you're not tracking your expenses, you don't know when that happens. Now, there's another group of people who don't need to track carefully. And this is people who have their budget down, they're careful spenders, they keep to their budget, it's just automatic for them. They are not in debt, they have a large retirement fund that's growing, they've paid off their house, they have money in the bank for their children. You get the idea, right? These are not people who are watching this video. So if you're watching this video, probably don't fall into that category. But if you are one of those unicorns that do fall into that category, you may have a very simple, uncomplicated budget, or perhaps you just make a lot of money and there is actually places where you can improve your budget. And you don't know that because you're not feeling the pinch because you're making so much money. That is a very rare occasion. So I do recommend to anybody who's watching this video, probably tracking will help you. But again, if you are, for instance, a single person and you have very simple, uncomplicated finances, maybe you don't need to do very much of that. And maybe the tracking that you do could just be keeping track of your bank account amounts as they roll in, and just designating, what category that comes out of. That's possible. Now, there are some benefits of tracking. Somebody once said, you can't improve what you don't measure. Tracking enables us to improve. And in the realm of finances, we are always looking to improve. We're always looking to save more, spend less, maybe categorize better, make our finances more simple, put more money in our IRA, pay off our mortgage. There's so many things we're trying to do with our finances, and tracking enables us to improve all of those things. So for instance, tracking helps you to figure out, and as I have already said, where you are overspending, where you're underspending, and what can you change. Tracking also enables you to benchmark. In other words, throughout your month, as you track your expenses, you can benchmark the categories, the amounts of money in each of your categories. So for instance, hopefully you will not come to the end of the month and see, oh, I spent $100 more in my grocery budget, because you've been tracking all along. And so when you started that last week, you realize I'm down to $30 in my grocery budget. So I can't go out to eat, I can't overspend, I can't buy very many groceries. In other words, you're benchmarking throughout the month so that you don't end up in a situation where you're overspending. Tracking enables you to do that. Tracking enables you to budget more accurately. So people who recommend a zero-based budget, like for instance, Dave Ramsey. Zero-based budgeting tells you to tell every penny where to go. It puts you in the driver's seat with your financing. So zero-based budgeting is a method of budgeting where you budget every single penny that's coming into your bank account through your income. A zero-based budget really helps you because you're giving every penny, every dollar a task to do. If you are ever over or under in budgeted amounts for categories, you will end up with too little or too much money. Now, you may think to yourself, I've never had the problem of having too much money. Well, here's an example of when you might have too much money and not know it. If you have too little money, you typically know it. You run out of money before running out of month. And that leads you into debt or perhaps even deprivation, depending on whether you keep on spending or stop spending. If you have too much money at the end of the month, it might be because that money needed to go somewhere. It needed to be designated somewhere, but you forgot to designate it. So really that money, you may be tempted to spend it, but it really should be saved in a sinking fund for an upcoming bill or event. And tracking will help you if you run into this circumstance where you either have too much money at the end of the month or too little money at the end of the month. Tracking enables you to do one more thing. It enables you to get out of debt and to save. For instance, if you have debt, mortgage, credit cards, student loans, car loans, or if you want to save for retirement, for college, for car, for down payment, for Christmas, tracking will help you to do all that because it helps you track all of your expenses. You can limit certain categories, and then you can also track what you're saving in different accounts. So tracking enables you to get out of debt and to save. But here's the question, what can we use to track our expenses? And I have a few things here that I'd like to show you. Number one, we have talked before about cash envelopes. And in fact, I have a video on how to make these free cash envelopes and other cash envelopes like this one. Cash envelopes are wonderful because especially if you're using cash, you can track your expenses right on the envelope. It has this nice register here, just sort of like a checkbook register like we used to use millions and millions of years ago when checks were still a thing and we didn't do everything online. And I'm just joking, we're actually ordering a new checkbook this week. But it gives you a place to record exactly what you bought, when you bought it, and how much it was. That's really helpful if you're using cash because that amount will not show up on any of your bank accounts. So it's really important that you keep track. For instance, today I gave my son $5 cash for lunch money, and I need to record that. That money will not show up on my bank account. So that money, if I do not record that somewhere, that money is gone and I have no record on what I spend it on. So it's very important that you keep track of your expenses, particularly if you are spending cash. Of course, a cash envelope in and of itself is a method for keeping track, right? So if all I'm taking out of this category or this envelope is grocery money, and that's all I spend from this grocery money, I can count the money that's in this envelope at any point, and I know exactly how much I have left. So it enables me to benchmark. If there's any left at the end of the month, I can save that money. So it has all the benefits of tracking wrapped up in a cash envelope. Here's another cash envelope, and you can make some registers like this. You could just keep track of your expenses, just tuck it in the envelope. So there's multiple ways of doing it with cash envelopes. But there's also tracking notebooks. Now this one I just picked up somewhere. It's an income and expenses. So particularly if you have some kind of home business or something, you can keep track of your weekly totals, what you spent every day, what you make every day. There's lots of different kinds of expense trackers that come in a notebook form. You can buy budget notebooks or budget, you can buy like budget downloads. You can buy budget notebooks that will help you with that. This is a book I picked up, and it's called The Difference. It's a wealth building journal, and I'm only showing you this because this actually has a tracker right in the book. So it has a couple of pages of how to track, and then even some budget worksheets. So if you're reading some finances books, they might have something like this that you could photocopy. There are a lot of free downloads online where you can download for free a budget tracker. I have one. I'll include the link to it below this video, and feel free to go there and download it. In addition, you can just use a notebook, like a spiral bound notebook and pen, and it can be very low tech. It can be absolutely free. You can just use notebook paper. Anything you can get your hands on can be a means for tracking your expenses. And in addition to that, I like to use an app called the EveryDollar app. It's created by Dave Ramsey and his group. And I have found that, I just have the free version, but I have found that it is immensely helpful in keeping track of every penny we spend. So in that, you can designate different categories of expenses, and you can include any income that you get as well as any outflow of money. So it's extremely, extremely helpful. The free version is free indefinitely. Like, it's not like a 2-week free thing and then your credit card starts paying for it. It's absolutely free for as long as you want it. If you do sign up for a free, I don't know what they call it, like a pro version or something, you can actually watch for free all of Dave Ramsey's videos on there for his baby steps and his Financial Peace University, or whatever he calls it. And so we actually did that. We signed up for, I forget how many, maybe it was 2 weeks free or something of their upgraded version. And then we canceled after we watched the videos with our family. And that's perfectly all right. You never end up spending a cent if you're interested in doing that. He has that out there as a resource for you to help you with your finances. And I strongly recommend, if you haven't read his book or you haven't watched any of his online, actually he gives almost the same information online, so you don't really need to watch that, but it is a good comprehensive series. But I do recommend that you start tracking your expenses one way or another. If you use your bank account, and then you can check it, make sure you caught everything in your app. And then just my recommendation is that with cash, you have a separate tracking system, because that will fall through all the cracks of your bank accounts. If you have enjoyed this video or profited from it, I would like to request that you click the like button and that you subscribe and click that notification bell so that you know every time I release a new video. I am going to continue releasing videos on how, sort of in-depth videos on how to do certain parts of budgeting, and this is to help people who are in debt or who want to get out of debt or who want to save money. And so I would love to have you join our crew of watchers, and I just thank you for watching this video. Have a wonderful day.